Come and see my selection of the finest quality nuts.
Hallgerd's Tale by Tavio Dromio. I think the greatest warrior who ever lived had to be Vilius Nominus, offered Ziomara. Name one other warrior who conquered more territory. Tiber Septim, obviously, said Hallgerd. He wasn't a warrior, he was an administrator, a politician, said Garaz. And besides, acreage conquered can't be the final means of determining the best warrior. How about skill with a blade? There are other weapons than blades, objected Ziomara. Why not skill with an axe or a bow? Who was the greatest master of all weaponry? I can't think of one greatest master of all weaponry, said Hallgerd. Balaxus of Aegea, Nero in Blackmarsh, was the greatest wielder of a lance. Inus Leveru of the Ashlands is the greatest master of the club I've ever seen. The greatest master of the katana is probably an Akaviri warlord we've never heard of. As far as archery goes, Lineal Whitestrake supposedly conquered all of Tamriel by himself, interrupted Ziomara. That was before the First Era, said Garaz. It's probably mostly myth. But there were all sorts of great warriors of the modern eras. The Camoran usurper, the unknown hero who brought together the Staff of Chaos and defeated Yegar Tharn. We can't declare an unknown champion as the greatest warrior. What about Nandor Barad, the Empress Kataraya's champion? Suggested Ziomara. They said he could use any weapon ever invented. But what happened to him? Smiled Garaz. He was drowned in the Sea of Ghosts because he couldn't get his armor off. Call me overly particular, but I think the greatest warrior in the world should know how to take armor off. It's kind of hard to judge the ability to wear armor as a skill, said Ziomara. Either you have basic functionality in a suit of armor, or you don't. That's not true, said Hallgerd. There are masters in that as well, and people who can do things while wearing armor better than we can out of armor. Have you ever heard of Halalu Pasoreth, the king's great-grandfather? Ziomara and Garaz admitted they had not. This was hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and Pasoreth was a ruler of a great estate, which he had won by rights of being the greatest warrior in the land. It's been said, and truly, that much of the house's current power is based on Pasoreth's earnings as a warrior. Every week he held games at his castle, pitting his skill against the champions of the neighboring estates, and every week he won something. His great skill wasn't in the use of weaponry, though he was decent enough with an axe and a longsword, but in his ability to move quickly and with great agility wearing a full suit of heavy mail. There were some who said that he moved faster while wearing armor than he did out of it. Some months before this story begins, he had won the daughter of one of his neighbors, a beautiful creature named Mina, who he had made his wife. He loved her very much, but he was intensely jealous, and with good reason. She wasn't very pleased with his husbandly skills, and the only reason Mina never strayed was because Pasoreth kept a close eye on her. She was, to put it kindly, naturally amorous and resentful of her position as a prize. Wherever he went, he always brought her with him. At the games, she was placed in a special box so that he could see her even while he competed. But his real competition, though he didn't know it, was from a handsome young armorer he had also won at one of his competitions. Mina had noticed him, and the armorer, whose name was Terran, had certainly noticed her. This is all the makings of a dirty joke, Hallgerd, said Ziomara with a smile. I swear that it's entirely true, said Hallgerd. The problem facing the lovers was, of course, that they could never be alone. Perhaps because of this, it became a burning obsession to both of them. Terran decided that the best time for them to consummate their love was during the games. Mina feigned illness so she didn't have to stay in the box, but Pasoreth visited the sick room every few minutes between fights, so Terran and Mina could never get together. The sound of Pasoreth's armor clunking up the stairs to visit his sick wife gave Terran the idea. He crafted his lord a new suit of armor, strong and bright and beautifully decorated. For his purposes, Terran rubbed the leg joints with Luca dust, so the more he sweated and the more he moved them, the more they'd stick together. After a little while, Terran figured, Pasoreth wouldn't be able to walk very quickly and wouldn't have enough time in between fights to visit his wife. But just in case, Taryn also added bells to the legs which rung loudly when they moved, so the couple would be able to hear him coming in plenty of time. When the games commenced the following week, Mina feigned illness again, and Taryn presented his lord with the new armor. Besorth was delighted with it, as Taryn hoped he would be, and donned it for his first fight. Taryn then stole upstairs to Mina's bedchamber. All was silent outside as the two began to make love. Suddenly, Mina noticed a peculiar expression on Taryn's face, and before she had a chance to ask him about it, his head fell off at the neck. Besorth was standing behind him with his axe in hand. How did he get upstairs so quickly with his leg joints gummed up? And they didn't hear the bells ringing? Asked Geraz. Well, you see, when Besorth realized he couldn't walk on his legs very quickly, he walked on his hands. I don't believe it, laughed Xiomara. What happened next? Asked Geraz. Did Besorth kill Mina also? No one knows exactly what happened next, said Hallgerd. Besorth didn't return for the next game, nor for the next. Finally, at the fourth game, he returned to fight, and Mina appeared in the box to watch. She didn't appear to be sick anymore. In fact, she was smiling and had a light flush to her face. They did it? Cried Xiomara. I don't have all the salacious details, except that after the battle, it took 10 squires 13 hours to get Besorth's armor off because of all the Luca dust mixed with sweat. I don't understand. You mean he didn't take his armor off when they... But how? Like I said, replied Hallgerd, this is a story about someone who was more agile and accomplished in his armor than out of it. Now, that's skill, said Geraz.
By the best blacksmith in Skyrim. Finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.